The working relationship that everybody's been talking about leading up to 2020 is All Elite Wrestling in New Japan. However, today we got major update in regards to a working relationship between New Japan Pro Wrestling and Impact, and quite honestly, the news is pretty shocking. We're going to talk about it right here on DPW.
You have arrived at your destination.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Ango from Destination PW. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Tango with Ango, and today's news is pretty exciting, pretty interesting, and kind of disappointing. So I'm going to go through the entire thing. You guys can let me know what you guys think by slapping that like button, dropping a comment down below, and of course, clicking that subscribe button. Show your support. It would definitely be appreciated, but I got to talk about this. So if you guys didn't hear, AXS TV announced that they will not be carrying New Japan Pro Wrestling going into 2020. That means they have officially dropped New Japan. And New Japan came out with a statement saying that they have no plans for United States broadcast in the year of 2020, which is really interesting considering that they just launched New Japan of United States. They are obviously doing this United States expansion all throughout the year with a whole bunch of tours and house shows and dojos and pretty much everything you could think of. So when you think of New Japan trying to win over the United States market, they're clearly not successful with Ring of Honor. The whole thing with AEW is really, really interesting because nobody really knows what's going on. Very, very confusing stuff as well. And then there's Impact Wrestling, a company that has worked with New Japan before. And then, of course, there's been a lot of issues. And I think it really goes back to the year of 2010 or 2011. But for those who don't know, there was some heat from New Japan, who specifically did not like the way Impact Wrestling booked Okada. And because of that, they've pretty much never worked with Impact Wrestling since. And, you know, guys, my point of view is really important here because I speak from the pro wrestling fan, and then I also speak from like the business sense. When you look at the United States expansion of New Japan, their most success will be involved with Impact Wrestling or AEW. Even if you're not a fan of Impact, you just have to trust me on this. Both companies offer a good product, consistent product with a great roster, and there's a lot of key matchups that people would be interested in with those two companies. The whole thing between New Japan and Ring of Honor has just kind of been dead, in all honesty. It just doesn't seem interesting. It's not exciting, and it's kind of been like overused or overplayed, I guess is the word. But the idea that New Japan chooses to not work with Impact Wrestling, which, by the way, is completely under different management in 2020. You have Scott D'Amore, Don Callis. Don Callis, obviously, very familiar with New Japan. You know, it shocks me that they have no interest whatsoever working with AEW or New Japan or Impact Wrestling right now. And I think when you look at New Japan and knowing that they don't want to work with these companies, it's almost like, why the hell are you doing this U.S. expansion in the first place? I just can't put the pieces together. And that seems to be my issue here. You can go with AEW, which I think is going to become more likely as time goes on. But why not work with both? Why not work with Impact Wrestling? They have a solid roster. There's a lot of matchups. And then on top of that, you have some really cool concepts in Impact Wrestling. Lockdown is supposedly coming back in 2020. You know, there's a lot of cool things between both companies. And if you are Impact Wrestling, you benefit from working with New Japan. New Japan obviously gets more from working with Impact. Or I'm sorry, Impact gets a little bit more from New Japan because obviously Impact, you know, could kind of take a little bit of the clout that New Japan has. But New Japan bringing an audience to the United States or trying to win that audience in the United States, they're going to do that with working with great wrestlers. And if you're not working with WWE, which obviously, regardless of how you feel about WWE, they have a stacked roster. But if you look at Impact and AEW, those are the companies you should want to work with when you look at that roster. So I feel like even though New Japan doesn't have a lot to gain by working with those companies specifically, they need a presence in the United States. You know, Impact is doing good with their pay-per-views. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to do it. It's just really shocking, but New Japan is not doing the working agreement, and because of it, Impact and AXS aren't going to have them on AXS TV. It's petty. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's disappointing. You know, even at this point, Impact is more of a niche product anyway. So them working with New Japan is not going to make Impact the strongest promotion, but it's just going to come up with some great wrestling. And I think You know, the president of New Japan had recently talked about working with AEW, and he said it's all based on trust. I understand why you may not trust Impact Wrestling, but you're talking about something 10 years later, whole different management group. It's totally different, and it's disappointing, like I said. But yeah, New Japan's not working with Impact. They turned them down. So in turn, Anthem booted them off AXS TV. Really crazy, very petty. New Japan wants to expand in the United States, but right now there's nobody that has the access to watch them unless it's on Fight or New Japan World. And you could try to convince me to watch New Japan World, and I have the service, but the time zone difference is really incredible, and that makes it hard. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think New Japan's making the right decision? Obviously, with no plans for them to work with AEW or Impact right now, it's just really interesting. So can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments. I'll be responding to most of them, and I will see you guys tomorrow for more pro wrestling news. Thanks for watching, guys. Follow me on Twitter at Tango with Ango, and I'll see you next time.
You have arrived at your destination.